Good evening, and welcome to Nox Historia. Tonight, we travel to the world of Chaco Canyon. Put the day down first. It has taken what it was going to take, and it is finished now, and none of it needs you anymore tonight. Let your shoulders come down. Let your jaw unclench. Let the breath go long and slow and low in the chest, the way it goes when nobody is watching it. Where we are going, the air is dry and cold and very clean, and smells of juniper smoke and warm stone and dust that has been lying in the sun all day. Come with me slowly. It is a quiet place. It always was. We are traveling to a canyon in the high desert of what is now northwestern New Mexico in the years around 1100. This is the height of what archaeologists call the Bonito phase, from roughly 900 to 1140, when the ancestral Puebloan people of this canyon built something with no equal anywhere north of Mexico. Not a city, quite, something stranger and far more deliberate. Great houses of stacked sandstone, 4 stories tall and in places 5, set along 9 miles of a shallow, dry, wind-scoured canyon where almost nothing grows above knee height. And here is something most people never learn. There are no trees here. There were none then either. Yet the roofs of these buildings rest on more than 240,000 wooden beams, pine and fir and spruce, some of them 5 meters long and heavier than a grown man, and every one of them came in on somebody's shoulders and then lifted into place. You do not need to remember any of this, not the names, not the dates, not a single number. Let it drift past like smoke coming off a low fire. If you happen to fall asleep before the end, that is exactly what this is for. So come and stand on the rim with me, in the last of the light. Below you, the canyon opens out, wide and shallow and gold, half a mile across, with low cliffs of pale sandstone, banded cream and rose and honey. The sun has just gone behind the mesa at your back, and its shadow is moving out across the canyon floor like water poured slowly across a table. Sagebrush and saltbush go from silver to gray. The cliff opposite holds its color longest, then lets that go too. A hawk somewhere high up is turning without effort, going home. And the air, hot enough at noon to make the rock ache to the touch, is already cooling around your ankles. That is what the desert does. It gives the heat back the moment the sky asks for it. Below and a little west, the great houses are catching the last light on their upper walls, so they seem to float slightly above the ground that holds them. Before we go down, look behind you. Running north from where you stand, there is a line in the ground. It is straight in a way nothing in nature ever bothers to be, and it is wide, 9 meters across, wide enough for 20 people abreast. This is a road. There are hundreds of miles of them out here, running from this canyon in every direction, and they do not curve for anything. Where a cliff stands in the way, steps have been cut into the rock. Where the ground falls off, a masonry ramp has been built up to meet it. The longest runs almost due north for some 30 miles, out towards a canyon in the Badlands, holding its line the whole way. A footpath a hand's breadth wide would carry every load these roads ever carried, and yet they were surveyed, cut, banked, and built to a width you would call generous for a motorway. Archaeologists have argued about why for 100 years. The most honest answer anyone gives is that a road can be for arriving properly rather than for arriving quickly. Some journeys deserve a road you can see from the sky. Now walk down, slowly, the way people came in. The canyon floor is soft underfoot and sandy, with a dry wash winding along the middle of it that runs a few days a year and is empty tonight. To your left, a great house rises out of the dark, hundreds of rooms, tiers of them, stepping back from you like the seats of a theater. Further on, another, then another. 9 of them in 8 miles, with more beyond the rim. Small farmsteads scatter between them, and it is in those mostly that people live day to day. Doorways glow faintly at ground level. Somebody is singing, not for an audience, the way you sing while your hands are busy. A turkey resettles itself in a pen and goes quiet. There is wood smoke and roasting maize, and the cold mineral smell that comes off the desert sand once the sun is off it. The building we are heading for is the largest of them all. Come round the front of it. The wall in front of you is a single unbroken curve of stone, and it goes up and up, 4 stories, dark against the last blue in the sky. Put your hand flat on it. It is still warm. It has been drinking sunlight since dawn and will hand that warmth back all night. Look closely at how it is made. Thin tabular slabs of sandstone, no thicker than a finger, laid in careful bands with thicker blocks between them, so the wall has a rhythm to it, like weaving. In places, the joints are so fine you could not push a blade between 2 stones, and this is only the skin. Inside, the wall is nearly a meter thick at its base, 2 faces of shaped stone, with a core of rubble and mud between them, tapering as it climbs, so the upper stories ride lightly on the lower ones. The masons had no mortar that sets hard, no arch, no metal tools at all, only sandstone, mud, timber, patience, and 300 years of knowing what stone will and will not forgive. Step through into the plaza, and the noise of the wind stops. Inside, the great house is quiet the way a courtyard is quiet when walls stand all the way round it. Round rooms are sunk into the ground below the level of the plaza, dozens of them. Doorways lead off into the room blocks, and 1 or 2 are lit. Go through the nearest one. The doorway is low and shaped, wider at the top than the bottom, so you have to duck and turn your shoulders, which slows you down and puts you into the room politely. The room inside is small, 3 paces by 4, and the plaster is a soft, warm brown, with a band of pale wash running round it at shoulder height. Look up. There are the beams, 5, maybe 6 of them, laid side by side, peeled smooth and level, and across them a mat of slender poles, and across those a layer of juniper bark and split cedar, and then packed earth. That earthen roof is the floor of the room above. The beams are pine from the Chusca Mountains, 50 miles west, cut in a mountain forest by people who then walked them here. Their ends were rubbed smooth with sandstone before they were set, so nothing would catch or splinter. Somebody cared how this looked from underneath. The fire is small and set in a shallow basin in the floor. Sit down beside it with your back against the warm wall. The wood is juniper and piñon, and there is not much of it out here, so it is burned carefully, 3 or 4 sticks at a time, fed in end first as it goes. Juniper burns with a low blue edge and a smell like cold gin and church. The light moves on the plaster. The beams overhead go from brown to amber and back again. Nobody is talking much. There is that hour, the same in every century, where the work is done and the food is quite not ready, and people sit near the heat and let their faces go slack. A child lies on their stomach with their chin on their hands, watching the flames with total seriousness. A woman turns a stone over and back with her thumb, not really looking at it. Outside, the temperature is falling fast, and the wall at your back is giving up its heat by degrees, patient as an animal. Now, the food, and something remarkable about it. Almost everything on that fire is maize. Ground maize, boiled maize, maize baked into thin cakes on a hot stone. This canyon is not good farming country. The soil is thin, the rain arrives in the wrong months, and the fields down there, even worked expertly, with check dams and gridded plots and channels to catch what runs off the cliffs, could feed a few hundred people, not thousands. So archaeologists went looking and found the answer inside the corn itself. Every plant takes up a trace of strontium from the ground it grows in, and the balance of it differs valley by valley, like a signature. Measure it in an 11th century cob from this canyon, and you can ask, in effect, where were you grown? For a good many of them, the answer is not here, west of here, out towards the foot of the Chuscas, and along the kinder floodplain ground of the San Juan. The maize came in on people's backs. So did the timber, and the stone tools, and the pots, and eventually the deer. This place lived because a whole region chose to carry things to it. Supper is a stew, and it is very good. A corrugated jar sits close in against the embers, its outside pinched into ridges by the potter's fingers, and those ridges are not only decoration, they give the fire more surface to grip, and they keep the pot from cracking as it heats. Inside, maize, beans, squash, a little dried meat, wild greens, seeds. Someone lifts the lid stone, and the steam goes straight up in the still air. There is turkey, too. Turkeys are kept here in pens, and they matter less for their meat than for their feathers. The soft down is cut short, wound around yucca cord, and the cord woven into blankets, and one blanket will swallow something like 11,000 feathers. We know because researchers took one apart and counted. Piñon nuts get eaten by the handful in a good year, and a good year comes round maybe 1 in 5, which is why so much of this canyon's architecture, when you look at it honestly, is storage. After the food, hands go back to work in the firelight, and here is where this canyon becomes almost unbelievable. Somebody near you is working turquoise, a small flat lapstone, a bit of sandstone abrader, a drill weighted and spun between the palms, and a scatter of blue-green chips no bigger than a fingernail. The work is slow. Shape it, grind the face, drill it through, thread it, then roll the whole line back and forth across the abrading stone until every bead on it comes true and round together. It takes hours. It is exactly the sort of thing you do sitting down, near warmth, talking, while the day empties out. And they made so many. Excavations across this canyon have recovered more than 200,000 worked pieces of turquoise, some 65,000 from this one great house alone. Beads, pendants, inlay, tiny mosaic tesserae. When the stone was tested for its chemical fingerprint, the results scattered across half the west, the Cerrillos Hills away to the east, yes, but also sources in Colorado, in Nevada, in Southern California. Blue stone crossed 1,000 miles of country to arrive in this room and be made beautiful by someone sitting where you are sitting. Other things traveled here too, and they are stranger still. In one sealed room of this building, archaeologists found a stack of pottery jars unlike anything else in the region. Tall, straight-sided cylinders, 111 of them, put away together. Nobody could say what they were for until a chemist scraped the interiors and found theobromine, cacao, chocolate, drunk as a beverage. Cacao does not grow within 1,200 miles of here. It grows in the tropical lowlands of Mesoamerica.
Copper bells came up the same way. So did scarlet macaws, huge red birds from those same humid forests, carried north alive as fledglings through desert and mountain by somebody who kept them fed the whole way. Seashells came from the Gulf of California. Set it all side by side, and this canyon stops looking remote. It sits at the center of its own map, and the edges of that map are very far away. Out in the plaza, people are going down into one of the round rooms. You have seen these from above, circular, dug into the ground, roofed flat and level with the plaza so that from outside they are almost invisible. A ladder goes down through a hatch in the roof. Inside, the walls are plastered smooth, and a low masonry bench runs all the way round, so everyone sits at the same height, facing the middle. There is a firebox, a slab set upright beside it to spread the heat, and a shaft bringing cold air down from outside so the smoke draws cleanly up and out. The largest of them, across the canyon on the south side, is about 20 meters across. Its two doorways sit opposite each other on a line that runs true north and south to within a whisper of a degree. Getting that right without a compass takes patient observation of where the sun stands at noon, season after season. Somebody here did that work and then built a room around the answer. Come back up. The household is settling for the night. The room you are in is not really a bedroom. It has been a store and a workshop and a kitchen all day. Now the sleeping mats come out, plaited from yucca or rushes, and the turkey feather blankets and a folded hide. Sandals of woven yucca fiber come off and get set by the wall. A grinding bin sits in the corner, 3 stones at different roughnesses, the coarse one for cracking, the fine one for the flour that makes good bread, and the woman who used them today has hands that tell you exactly how many hours that was. The fire is banked down small. Somebody checks the ladder is where it should be. A pot of water is set within reach. Somebody says something quiet from the next room and gets a one-word answer, and that is the last of the conversation. The building settles around you the way a big old building does, ticking faintly as the stone cools. Go outside once more before you sleep. Step out into the plaza and tip your head back and let the sky do what it does here. There is no other light for 100 miles. The dark overhead is not empty, it is crowded, so thick with stars that the constellations are hard to pick out because there is too much between them. The Milky Way stands up over the canyon like a road of its own. It is properly cold now, and the cold has a clean edge to it, and your breath goes up white. The people who built this were watching this sky very closely indeed. The long, straight south wall of this great house runs almost exactly east to west along the line where the sun rises and sets at the equinox. The wall dividing the plaza runs north to south on the meridian, the line the sun crosses at midday. Up on the butte at the canyon's east end, a spiral is carved into a cliff face behind 3 leaning slabs of stone, and at midsummer noon a blade of light falls through them and splits it down the center. A woman named Anna Sofar found that in 1977 and has been documenting it ever since. These buildings are, among other things, instruments. They keep the year. And one last thing before the fire goes out entirely. You will sometimes hear this called a lost civilization, a place whose people vanished. Set that down, because it has never been true. The people of this canyon did not vanish.
Over the following century or so, they moved, as farming people in dry country have always moved, south and east to the Rio Grande and the Zuni and Hopi mesas, where they are living now. Their descendants are the Pueblo nations of New Mexico and Arizona, Hopi, Zuni, Acoma, Laguna, Picuris, Santa Clara, many more. Recently, the people of Picuris Pueblo, wanting the question settled on their own terms, initiated a genetic study and worked on it as partners, and it confirmed in a laboratory what they had been saying all along, that their ancestors were the people of this canyon. The Diné, whose land surrounds this place today, have their own long history here and their own accounts of it. Nothing was lost. Somebody's great-great-grandmother, many times over, walked to a better valley and took everything she knew with her. And we can sit in this room at all only because things were left behind here. An astronomer named Andrew Douglas, chasing sunspots through the growth rings of trees, worked out that wide years and narrow years make a pattern, and that a pattern can be matched from one piece of wood to another, backwards indefinitely. He brought that idea to these beams. In 1929, the chain finally joined up, and the roof timbers of this canyon stopped being merely old and became dated to the year and sometimes to the season they were felled. Tree ring dating was born here, on this wood. It is the reason we can say 1100 and mean it. So we know when this room was roofed. We know which mountain the beams grew on and which valley grew the corn in the pot. And we know somebody drank chocolate here, 1,200 miles from the nearest cacao tree. And we know it because people put things down carefully and went to bed and thought nothing more about it and slept in a warm room under an enormous sky, as you, perhaps, are sleeping now. The fire in the basin has gone from low orange to gray to almost nothing. The room is entirely dark. Outside, the cold is settling over the plaza and the roads and the long, pale walls, and the stars are wheeling slowly over a canyon where somebody, at some point tonight, will get up and check the angle of them and go back to bed satisfied. So let go of the last of it, whatever you are still holding. It is not yours tonight. It will keep, exactly as everything here kept, in the dry and the dark and the quiet, and it will still be there in the morning if it ever really mattered. Let your hands go loose. Let your breath go slow. There is nothing to answer, nothing to carry, nothing to finish. Sleep well, and when you are ready to travel again, Nox Historia will be waiting. Good night.